Welcome to another SAP Ariba self-service video. Today, I will show you different ways we have for avoiding sending an order to a supplier in Ariba Network. In Ariba standard configuration, orders are pushed to Ariba Network suppliers when they are created and also when a change happens. Always we are not talking about an internal change. But we have two ways for avoiding pushing orders to Ariba Network. First is using these internal changes, which is part of the default configuration, and second is using Supress Orders flag, which requires additional configuration. We will see how it works for both cases. Starting with internal changes, by default, the system will consider an internal change always it happens to the title, to comments when the visible to supplier checkbox is not marked, and also to accounting fields. Meaning, new version will still be generated, but it won't be pushed to Ariba Network. Let's see now how it works in the system. So we have an order already generated in Ariba Budget and Invoicing, which has been sent to Ariba Network, and we can see the order in the supplier's inbox. Going back to Ariba Budget and Invoicing, once we have this first initial version, the user can proceed with some changes, and depending on the type of the change, it will be reflected in Ariba Network. In this case, let's just proceed with a normal change that we expect to be visible in Ariba Network, like the quantity. User submits and a proper flow will be raised for this requisition second version, depending on the existing configuration. Once the second version is completely approved, we see it as ordered, and in history we can check how the PO 27 has been sent again to Ariba Network. Also, in Ariba Network supplier's inbox, we see the order with the version 2 reflecting the changes in red for the quantity and the amount. Going back to Ariba Budget and Invoicing, let's do some additional changes, but internal this time. Remember, system consider internal change when we modify the title, when we add internal header or line comments, meaning not visible to supplier, or when we modify any line item accounting field. Let's just modify the title and submit. Once the third version is approved, we can see the requisition version 3 as ordered. However, when we go to history, we see now the PO was not pushed to Ariba Network, the same we can see for version 2 and version 1. Hence, the supplier won't see any new version in his inbox for this PO 27. We can go on doing changes, and for our requisition, we did two more changes. One for changing the need by date, generating version 4 being pushed to Ariba Network, and the last one just changing the general ledger, which is an accounting field, generating an internal order. Meaning the supplier will only see one additional version, which is version 3 for the supplier, with the need by date change that opening the order will be again visible in red. So if there are multiple changes to requisition, versions won't be totally aligned, but at the end, this is transparent for the supplier and buyer. Now, can we change the default behavior for internal orders? Yes, there is a parameter controlling how we want to handle internal orders, and system can ignore internal changes, making them always visible to the supplier. In case you are interested in changing the standard behavior like this, you don't need to contact Ariba support. Your designated system administrator can enable this parameter. This parameter only affects Ariba Network orders. It doesn't have any impact in how orders are sent to the ERP. And this is the only configuration change we can do related to internal changes. We cannot change internal fields, removing or adding any, for instance. After understanding how internal changes behaves, let's see how Supress Order flag works. We can configure the system for having a new Supress Order field shown at the requisition header that during the purchasing process, an user, preparer, or approver can check for avoiding the PO being sent to Ariba Network regardless the change. This is configured via parameter, which is disabled by default. So in case you're interested, your system administrator can enable it for you. Let's see how it works in the system. First step is enabling the parameter. In case your Ariba buying and invoicing realm is multi-ERP having parent-child configuration, note you will need to enable the parameter at parent level in order to replicate the configuration to all childs. If you want to enable it only for some specific child realm, you will have to enable the parameter at child level. In our case, we will enable at parent level, clicking on Manage, Core Administration, Customization Manager, Parameters, and we will look for the parameter where we will see it still has the default configuration. So we will enable, clicking on Yes, and saving it. Since we are enabling in parent, it will replicate to all childs. Now, after having the Supress Order parameter enabled in the system, since the very first moment, an user, when creates a requisition, will see a new Supress Order checkbox unmarked by default. And it's possible to check it in order to prevent the purchase order from being sent to the Ariba network. But let's see how it works with an existing order. We have already our requisition 66 created in the system that we submitted, and purchase order was generated and sent to the supplier. So the supplier can see the PO28 as new already in his inbox. So let's change the requisitions quantity, but let's avoid for now sending the order to the supplier, because I know I will have to change the need by date, but I still need to confirm it. So let's just change the quantity, because I will need to have it approved first before confirming the delivery date. So I will submit the requisition, and depending on my configuration, I will have the workflow raised. The user Peppa submitted the requisition, and approvers will be able to see it in the to-do portlet as per approval flow configuration. When the approver clicks on Edit the requisition, they will be able to see the super order flag and also change it. Ideally, Peppa will have added some comment explaining why she doesn't want to send the PO to the supplier. Anyway, let's assume approvers know, and PR is finally approved, so PO can be generated. So requisition was approved, new order version was generated, but it was not sent to the supplier. If we go to the history, we can see that the order was suppressed and changed. In case that we don't know or we are not sure about the changes, we can see here how quantity was changed from 15 to 30. And we can perfectly see it was not pushed to Ariba network. Also, if we go to Ariba network inbox, we see that we still have the first version of the order. Now the user, Peppa, decides to change the requisition. This time I want to confirm the new delivery date and also to make sure that the supplier receives the order in Ariba network. So I change the requisition. I change the delivery date, the need by date 1 week earlier. I make sure I am not suppressing the order this time, and I submit. So third version of the requisition where need by date was changed was approved and ordered, generating an order that this time, since it was not suppressed, we can see it was sent to Ariba network as PO28. If we go to the inbox of the supplier, we can see also new third version of the PO. Notice versions, numbers are not skipped as it was happening for internal orders. And supplier can also see all changes done in red since the last version he had, which are, let's see now, quantity and amount, together with the need by date that was applied in the last change. As a final note related to suppress orders flag, we have seen how once it's enabled, which can be done by your system administrator, all users can see it in the requisition header along the purchasing process, preparers or approvers. However, it's possible to restrict the visibility of this field via customization. In case you are interested, contact your CEE to know how to involve necessary resources. For finishing this session, remember we have seen two different ways for avoiding sending orders to Arriba Network. Internal orders, which are enabled by default, and Suppress Orders flag, which needs to be enabled. As you can imagine, they can be both combined as well, depending on the needs you may have. Hope this session was useful and thanks for listening to it.